Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphanlast, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm coming at you with another Noblefrugal Studio collaboration video where I'm drawing out this background so that Noblefrugal Studio can go ahead and animate a complex scene on top of it, and he will be using Open Toons in order to do so. His channel is primarily oriented around teaching Open Toons. I do like his teaching style, I really do. And if you guys would like to check out his channel, a link will be supplied inside of the video description below, so feel free to do so, to check out his channel and all that good stuff. Now, a lot of this video is me focusing on adding some colors that need to be there, such as, you know, the mortar for some of the joints and stuff like that. Some of the brown brick around this building, I don't plan on having a gray colored cement. You can actually color cement. It's just the natural color for it is gray. You just add a pigment, which is kind of like a powder, and it colors the cement. And so I don't plan on having gray joints going on throughout every single bit of mortar in between the brick and stuff like that. But there is a number of places where I've gone ahead and applied a gray joint here and there. Now, another thing that I've focused on is sometimes I actually like the black lines, and so I plan on, in a few cases here and there, just leaving them there. But by and large, when I look at the black lines, I see an area that I haven't addressed yet that needs to be refined and everything like that. I especially don't like the black lines on the window frames and such like that. I think they look hideous. And next time I go about doing the line work for a painting that looks that encroaches upon this sort of style, I think that with things like joints and brick and things like window frames and such like that, instead of drawing two lines in order to represent one strip of the window frame, I'm just going to draw one line and imply it, so that once I wind up painting everything and then merging the painting in my flats and putting in details and then merging in the line work in with the painting layer, I don't have to work so hard in order to get rid of all of the black lines. Like some of them I'm happy with, but there's some things that can definitely just be implied without having to do so much work in the line while doing the line work and actually painting it. Now, as far as the videos that I have out for the week, I did work on the anticipation head turn video, and there came a point where I just got kind of frustrated with it, because I've also, throughout the week, I've been playing around with this program called VPaint. I'll talk about that later, but after having played around with VPaint, I feel like, man, if I was using a VPaint layer, I'd already be done with this. And I was looking at it, and I wasn't happy with some of the in-betweens, but I'm kind of committed at this point. I've already got all these different levels out where I've already created a Toons raster level and colored it. And so in order for me to change things around with the vectors and everything, I'd have to change things around with the rasters as well. And it's just a nightmare. It's just the idea of doing that, it sounds like a nightmare. And so I'm kind of committed at this point and all that. But let me talk about VPaint for a second here. VPaint is a really rinky-dink program, and at first glance it's easy to look at it and say this is worthless and stupid. But if you actually look at the way that it is designed, if you look at how it is programmed, it's actually ingenious. If you give it its fair shake. Now, I'm not necessarily loyal to any particular animation style. If a cutout animation is going to work out best, then that's great. If traditional animation works out best, then that's great. Use it. That's awesome. Just do that. Whatever's best for whatever situation. The big downside with traditional animation, though, is that it's extremely expensive. It's extremely time consuming. It's in some cases not even cost effective. It's very frustrating, and it takes a high level of attention to detail and everything like that. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but there are drawbacks to traditional animation. And there are some purists out there that like to say, oh yeah, the only way to go is traditional animation. And I actually disagree. With every single trade in the world, with every single occupation in the world, over time, it gets revolutionized in some way. When we go out fishing and everything like that, we still use a fishing pole for personal use and stuff like that. But if you're doing it commercially or something like that, you're going to use a net. Pure and simple. The net was the big technological leap of its day that robbed people of their jobs of fishing every day for the supply to meet the demand. Now, same thing with stonemasonry. One of the oldest trades in the world. Stonemasonry. Back in the day, all that we had was shims, wedges, a hammer, and a chisel, pretty much. And nowadays we have gigantic saws, we have grinders, we have wet saws, we have all sorts of different techniques. We have hoists, electronic hoists to pick up stones that are too heavy for you, and you can totally use it when using leverage is just not really a good effective use of your time and such like that, or when you have an issue with trying to construct a way to create leverage inside of a limited amount of space and such like that. And every trade gets revolutionized in some way. Now, with animation, cutout animation was not... It's actually been around since the very beginning. And cutout animation started out with people basically grabbing paper, colored paper, cutting it out, and basically doing stop motion with it and interacting with this paper. These paper cutouts layered on top of each other, like a little paper doll, and taking one picture at a time, and that would create the animation. Now that has actually been revolutionized with the digital medium, where now you can apply a mesh, now you can apply a skeleton to it, you can apply bones and such like that. But the big problem with cutout animations is that you now have a character that should probably take up maybe 1 or 2 levels or layers, and this character is now basically taking up like 10, 15, 20 different layers, and it's easy to get lost in that. It's kind of frustrating to kind of think of. And this mesh that you apply to it, you're kind of shifting around the general shape of the character. Like, take my cutout animation series as an example. I drew this nude figure, okay? Of course, I didn't really show... he didn't have any private parts or anything like that, so it was still a G-rated series. But there was such a layer of detail to that cutout animation that whenever I'd start trying to move that cutout animation, all of that detail would wind up getting distorted in a way that wasn't realistic. And so I really can't even use that cutout that I worked on inside of that series. I did all that work and I can't even use it. So the general philosophy is, if you're going to use cutout animation, make it kind of try to make it a bunch, keep it as simple as possible. And that's frustrating. But with a VPaint layer, it's kind of a hybrid between traditional animation and a cutout animation, because it uses what's called VGC, vector vector graphic, I don't know, vector graphic animation complex, I think is what it's called. I don't know. I think it abbreviates as VGC. Basically, you're just by drawing a picture, you nearly immediately have a rig of some sort. Immediately. And you can manipulate it frame by frame, or from one keyframe to another, and you have full control over every vector, every control point, every face or fill. You have control over every single aspect of it, and it's amazing. You can have a stroke merge into a control point over the course of multiple frames. You can have a stroke merge into a fill. You can have a control point become a stroke, or a control point become a fill. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And in my opinion, it is superior to cutout animation and superior to traditional animation. And the reason why I mention this is because forever ago, I was talking about introducing solid vector fills into OpenToons. And the thing is that we were, the Marevna guy and I think you pronounce his name as Constantine. I'm just going to refer to him as Constantine, because the other pronunciation would be Constantin. So Constantine and I, we started researching what programs out there in the open source market would work best for OpenToons, and we found VPaint, and VPaint is just awesome. The way the topography of the vectors, how it is designed, it is superior to anything I've seen inside of any vector graphic editing anything anywhere, superior to anything in animation I've ever seen. And eventually this will become a Kickstarter, and I'm going to be working on creating, and this is going to take the course of multiple weeks for me making this presentation, but I'm going to be working on a video where I'm making a presentation where I'm playing around with VPaint and discussing how you can probably expect this to work as a new type of level inside of OpenToons. And hopefully by the time that the video ends, you guys can see just how revolutionary this is, and how it will make the entire animation process such a much better experience. So this right here is what I did before the video started, and I decided to keep the camera kind of fixated on the actual work that I did, because in my last video I did a lot of subtle work, and I did subtle work in this video too, and I showed the entire scene, and you couldn't even see any difference from the before and after image. And so here's the after image and everything. I think everything is coming together really well. Of course, you know, there's a lot of work left to do. Once I complete the process, the same sort of process that I've done in this video for every single building inside of this background, I'm going to actually start applying the photo texturing from photographs that I've gone ahead and basically taken throughout the years and such like that. So if you guys would like to check out any of my other videos, feel free to do so. That pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you didn't like it, please like, share, and subscribe anyways.